Hello, everyone. I apologize, I'm a minute late here. Has anybody started stepping in at all, or am I kicking it off?
You're kicking it off.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. So welcome, everybody. I'm going to check and see how many people we have coming in so far. We have 9. We had 17 RSVP'd. We have a lot to talk about today, but it's a lot of exciting stuff going on. And I'm going to turn that off real quick. And we've about 2 minutes in. So, and Connie and Sean and Pete, I just emailed you the PowerPoint. And Connie, I'm not sure if Connie's on the call with us. We will follow up after the meeting and email it to everyone. So you'll have that. There's a lot of really great links and resources in it. We're trying to continue with our consolidation of the data that we're gathering in the marketplace that you guys are coming up with, and keep it all in one location on our website. So with that, I think, how about if we go around and do a quick introduction with everybody? I'm Patricia Rothwell. I'm the Executive Director of the Energy Efficiency Business Coalition, and I'd like to introduce our 2 co-chairs. Is Sean on the phone? Pete, do you see Sean yet?
I don't see him.
Okay, well, introduce yourself then.
Pete Foray, with Gustav Larson, and I'm a co-chair. Happy to be here and excited to work with you guys, all of you, in regards to electrification.
And a lot of their role is to herd cats and help us all keep up to date. And all the feedback is really coming from everyone on the committee. It's not that Eebc we're generating all this information for you. We are just gathering and pulling it together from all of our smart organizations and what everybody's up to, and then connecting the dots between the utilities throughout the state. Our focus, in the next 6, 7, 8 months is on Xcel because of the policy rulemaking that's happening that we all want to have a voice in and have influence in. And then also working with the cities and the counties in terms of, where codes are going, but also the goals that they're setting with the new, I'm going to say lofty goals that our state and our cities and counties and government have with beneficial electrification. And before I get going, I'd like to explain beneficial electrification really quick, because Connie, who you all probably have some communication with, who's our marketing membership manager, I explained to her the other day, we keep saying beneficial electrification, and all these things that are happening. And in the market, we're just working really hard delivering our gas rebates and our electric rebates now. Nevertheless, this new idea of beneficial electrification rebates. So I had said that, well, really beneficial electrification is a concept. It's an idea, and it's an idea that is like wildfire taking place throughout the whole United States right now. And it's a new model for how we deliver energy in the marketplace. And we're adding in this electrification piece that is shifting the mix of how power is generated from being gas and coal to now having multiple resources that create electrification. And coal's going away and gas is becoming cleaner, natural gas, so it's being not necessarily eliminated, but so there's this massive transition that's taking place in our marketplace based on this concept. And she was like, oh, so we're just creating rebates from this new ideas of beneficial electrification. There's new rebates coming and they're all going to change and shift. Exactly. Like that's what it is, to explain it and simplify it, especially for our contractors, I think, because it's a big scary word, because we talk about it, but we don't explain, like, it's just new rebates and it's new definitions and new types that go with the new energy and the trends in the marketplace that are happening. Anybody want to comment on that before we introduce ourselves further?
I think it's a great point, is making sure that we're keeping it simple in regards to what's all there, and then having one place to have all the information in regards to all those is great to have. Because I think that's the biggest challenge that we have. Contractors I've talked to in regards to that have told me those specific things. So
Yeah, and they'll feel, we don't have time, we're too busy. And why would we switch? We're going to get paid no matter what we install.
right.
Right. So how do we, this group, look at transitioning and helping them transition so we keep them ahead of the curve? And what kind of incentives, what things need to be in place to do that? And that's what this committee is all about in a nutshell. With that, do you guys want to just start introductions? I'll just start on the side here and go across what my screen has. And Denise Grimm.
Good afternoon. I'm with PACE, Partners for a Clean Environment. It's a program of Boulder County that some of you may be familiar with. I've sat in maybe 70% of these calls, just hoping to stay connected and stay informed, and maybe add, anything that, I can that's relevant from the county perspective. But we do have heat pump conversion, fuel conversion rebates based on greenhouse gas emissions in our programming. And we have efficient cooling rebates, and our rebates go to the building owner representative, rather than the contractor level or distributor level. And so just staying informed of where, legislation is headed, where utilities are headed, where the industry is headed, helps us to make sure that what we're offering is relevant or enough, I guess, to push that needle. We also recently launched a climate action challenge initiative to, really get businesses feeling that they have a voice, or a call to act, or feel like they're a part of something, moving towards the right direction. So we actually just put out our first newsletter letting people know that this is a thing. And our goal with that is to baseline where they're at and see what's feasible within their wheelhouse, whether they're a tenant, a business, an owner, or a property manager. And can we incentivize them enough, to do the things that they really can accomplish? So they have set meaningful goals, incentivize it, and then we'll see. So far, we have 21 people that have joined. We just literally announced it in the last month. So we'll see how it goes. And those are my dogs. So nice meeting you all.
Thank you. And I think that I really like the phrase incentivize enough. And I think that's what this whole meeting's about today, the forecasting work that the little ad hoc committee worked on. Mark Kunkel.
How are you, Patricia?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. My name's Mark Kunkel. I work for ProBid Energy. We started as a solar company, and we've wisely shifted to be an electrification company. We're currently marketing our wares for air-sourced heat pumps, air-sourced hot water tanks, solar, and all the things that go with that. We are an installer, marketing, finance company that does everything electrical. Trying to navigate these new rebates with Denver's been interesting because nobody really knows how to. They just pulled back the solar rebate for some reason. So I am concerned about that. I don't know if you guys know anything or have contacts. I'm sure Ann might know some things, but that happened yesterday to my knowledge. And anyhow, just kind of involved in this, trying to hear what's going on and be a part of moving forward with all these great things happening.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think that Denver's going to be shifting a lot going forward. We'll talk about the conversation that I took the feedback from the forecasting group the day before and Thursday before they launched. And
Okay.
I think we'll talk more about that. So
Sounds good.
Great. Robert Glass.
I'm with Daikin Comfort Technology, formerly known as Goodman Manufacturing Company. The company name changed April 1st. And so obviously we're a manufacturer. of HVAC equipment. And my responsibilities, I'm a manager of state regulatory affairs. So I deal with all 50 states and trying to move the needle as necessary. Obviously, one of the things that relates to the building codes that will make allowances for the low GWP refrigerants that are the future. And the future is here. There are already products that are in the marketplace of the low GWP refrigerants. And so getting building codes updated to allow for those is a critical aspect. Now, one of the things, and forgive me if I don't have the number exactly right, but there's a bill that's been submitted in the Colorado legislation. I think it's House Bill 1362. It's the energy code bill, but there's also language in that basically prohibits local jurisdictions from disallowing the use of product using low GWP refrigerants that are SNAP regulated. And so as a result of that, I think that the whole industry wants support for that so that that can go ahead and continue through and get processed really as quickly as possible because the whole industry feels that there's going to be a shortage of the higher GWP refrigerants, particularly R410A, starting in 2024. With the AIM Act and the phase down of the refrigerants, we're already in a 10% reduction that started in 2022, but it goes to 40% in 2024. So manufacturers are looking to try to start getting the new products, the new low GWP refrigerant products into the marketplace as quickly as they can to head off that anticipated shortage of virgin R410A. So just some background information that way. Be glad to discuss anything that anybody may have questions on that. But looking forward to being part of this process and have been part of this process. And oh yeah, I'm one of the cats.
Okay, great. Good to know. We all need to know who we are, I guess. Like in the process. No, it's everybody here is, I think we're all both. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it. Matt Baker.
Yeah, hello. Matt Baker. I am with Daikin as well, just like Robert Glass, heat pump manufacturer. And my role is really around building partnerships just like this for the advancement of heat pumps, working with utility companies, government and government partnerships. And my primary focus is on electrification. So
Great, thanks. And I see Sean is connecting. We'll go ahead and jump to Sam real quick from Mitsubishi and then go to Sean.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Patricia. Sam Beeson with Mitsubishi. I'm in our utilities electrification program group. I work with utilities on promoting their utility energy efficiency programs mostly through our supply chain in the Western US, and over the last 3 years been doing a lot more work with cities and states on their climate action plans, and happy to be part of the process.
Awesome, thank you. Sean Lamons, looks like you made it.
Yeah, Sean Lamons from the performance construction team at Mitsubishi, and been working in this role for about 3.5 years now. Previously from kind of the energy modeling, HERS rating, lead green rater, FIA splits verifier arena. So just working with architects, engineers, contractors on understanding that heat pumps actually work, particularly in cold climates, and helping to value engineer systems that deliver as expected rather than kind of keeping an eye out for misapplication, if you will, that often happens. Yeah, that's me.
Great, and you are co-chair with Pete Perret, and you like herding cats.
I like herding cats. I have no idea what that means, but okay.
You missed the beginning. Don't worry, you'll be working on it. So, no, thank you. Doug Stokes.
Doug Stokes. I'm new to Denver. I'm moving from Kansas City. I'm with Train, and I lead or what we call our equipment sales team out of the Denver, Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, and Grand Junction offices. And this is all new to me, so I hope to learn a lot and help further the electrification of equipment and within the Colorado area.
Awesome. Welcome. Welcome to our fun team. We're making stuff happen here. So it's good. Erin Kempster.
Hi there. Yes, Erin Kempster from Energy Solutions. We're a program implementer and are implementing a couple programs in Colorado on the HVAC side through Midstream Channel. I am unfortunately not directly involved in those programs, but work very closely with the folks who are. So dipping a toe into this group today, and I'll be reporting back out to the teams who work on these programs, and just happy to be here. Thanks for including me.
Charlie Marsh.
Learn Company. I'm a territory manager in Denver Metro.
Oh, okay, great. I think we've met. Eric Wilson.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice to see you.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm a researcher at the National Renewable Energy Lab down the street if we were meeting in person. But I do a lot of modeling and thinking about market and program considerations that affect heat pump adoption. So interested just to listen in and gain some knowledge from you all on what the situation looks like out there.
You're going to like our heat pump forecasting discussion. Look forward to having you hear that. Great. So I have Kevin Stanky.
My name's Kevin Stanky. I'm actually regional sales manager with Carrier Corporation on the ductless, and I'll say VRF side. We handle up through single phase VRF, and then our commercial group takes over from there. But based here out of Northern Colorado and kind of cover various markets in the Western United States, to include a couple that probably are a little ahead of the curve up in the Northwest of where we are here in the Rocky Mountain region. But we're obviously catching up quickly. So as much as time allows from the amount of travel and territory I cover, I try to be a part of these meetings, listen in to what's going on and help support these efforts.
Awesome. Great to have you. I felt it was important because I think we never take the time to introduce ourselves to get a feel for who's on this call and how we all can possibly work together. So with that, I'm going to jump in and pull the PowerPoint presentation up. There's a lot of good data, which I was saying earlier in it. Great. We talked in the beginning about the purpose of this meeting and how we're all working together. And I love this quote. I just want to kick off with the vision of, I think, what this committee can do together. And this actually came from Sean Lamons. And I don't know, Sean, if you're in the car, I'll just kind of do a quick recap of it. But I pulled this because it's, I think, what market transformation for energy efficiency does not always take what we think it would take. And it basically is from England, allegedly. It's from the 5-minute podcast down below. Heat pumps are not hard. Here's what it'll take to get pumping. Posted 2 weeks ago. But basically, he said, I'm reminded of a topic of incentive nudges as policy in England. He said they really wanted to get people to insulate their homes, and they tried all kinds of things, carrots and sticks. Very few takers. It wasn't until the policymakers examined the pain points of insulating an old house that they realized it was all well and good to offer cheap, free insulation, but most people were reluctant because they would have to clean out their attic, which was full of storage. And it's interesting. It's not what we expected, but what they ended up saying is instead of paying for insulation, they started offering attic clean out service plus insulation. Suddenly the adoption skyrocketed. If someone offered me a nebulous future utility savings, but I had to do physical work, I probably would pass. But if they offered to clean my house and give me a nebulous savings, I'm on board. And so I really like that. I thought that was a great way for us to look at this group. We're looking for how to accelerate and transition the market and help our contractors be super successful. which in turn are distributors and manufacturers in our cities and are going to help hit our goals. And so I think we have to look through a lens of, we've had a lot of states around us who have, made these goals, and we're going to talk about them later in the forecast on how to heat pump acceleration, what would it take. But I think it just kind of puts in a nutshell that I think we have to widen our lens and look at what is particular to Colorado that could make that difference, like Pete was talking about earlier. Really quick, resources on our website. This is our hub for you. So we put all the links in here. So there's the resource and the documents. There's also the library of our meetings as well, and contact information also for Sean and Pete if you want to kick around some ideas. So here's our agenda. Antitrust law, we always follow antitrust laws, that we don't collude in pricing and territory fixing and those types of things. We just like to say it as a reminder to everyone that we follow those guidelines. And the first thing I wanted to let you guys know about is Eebc. We have started to roll out designing the program and creating a hiring pipeline for our contractors for heat pumps. Eebc joined together with Julius Education and ICAST, who ICAST has a full certified heat pump training for a heat pump technician. And when the graduate leaves, they end up getting a mentor for the first, we don't know how many installs yet. We have to decide if it's 3 or 5 or whatnot, which is a great guarantee for a contractor that wants to hire them. And then there is another tract, which is for all of the energy efficiency electrification companies, contractors. We have a lighting committee that's going to be getting graduates from a orientation program about the industry and their specific challenges. The work that our contractors do, it's not always warm and comfortable and 70 degrees inside. It's hot in attics, it's cool in the winter, it's cold, it's outside, but they're good green jobs. And that is the goal, is that we want to get a pipeline of orientating new employees, also for insulation, air sealing, the shell, whoever works with the shell, weatherization, and those types of jobs. So we're trying to hit all of the industries in our membership contractors, that we can have these graduates and hopefully get them a more qualified hire, but also find out what they need in their hires. And that is the process we're in right now. We've had a meeting with the lighting committee, and with the last action group meeting with the HVAC heat pump contractors. And we asked them, what are you looking for in your hire? What type of attributes, not necessarily skills, what type of attitude are you looking for? And then we want to put them for the orientation, have them come out realizing how difficult this job is, and they can self-select in, and hopefully they'll have more retention. So this is a 3-year program, and we hope to start training and placing students after we get the curriculum developed through your input. So if you'd like to have more input, the next meeting is on May 19th at 3 o'clock. That's with the heat pump action group, but we're finding other industries are filtering in. We're going to do another. So if you have feedback and you have contractors who would like to be members of the Eebc, and that is one of the benefits of being in the action group. So that's a lot of information, but I wanted to get it out there for you before we jump into heat pumps. So just wanted to do a high level recap, and Sean and Pete, please jump in here on the meeting that we had with Xcel, and it was specifically about the EAR and the HSPF levels, and it was prior to Xcel releasing the 60-day notice with their reduction in EAR and SPF to make your heat pump equipment eligible for rebates. I can jump in. The first slide here says the actions that came out of the meeting, and it also lists the new in green. You can see the chart there, the proposed rebates. Those have now been issued in the 60-day notice process that we'll talk about. The second page is really the notes from the meeting. And there is also a all meeting materials button here at the top of that screen for you. So with that, do you guys want to comment on that, Pete and Sean?
Well, I was just going to say that I think that it's a great, opportunity to have those voices heard in regards to, HSPFs, EERs, et cetera, and making it, because ultimately we're all trying to achieve the goal of electrification, and the more equipment that we have that qualifies, the quicker we're going to get to that point.
Sean, I don't know if you want to comment. My takeaways were that it's a great first move that they made, and it actually is because they, it's just internal information, but the engineers had realized they were using heat pumps as the baseline for their calculations for EAR. And so they would change the baseline to air conditioning, AC. And so it lowered the rate. I think in the meeting, it sounds like the manufacturers are saying, yeah, this is helpful. Now more of our equipment is eligible. But I think when you guys got back and really started looking at it closely, there's still a lot more room that you would need these to adjust to be able to get your more affordably priced heat pumps eligible. One of the comments I heard is Xcel's rebates are for the rich for heat pumps, because my understanding is if you talk with a homeowner and you have your high-end cold climate heat pump and it's more expensive and you get the rebate, it's still more expensive than dropping down a tier in heat pumps that'll still work on high performance, but maybe not cold climate. And those are the ones that are going to end up getting sold.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's certainly challenges with the AHRI ratings, how the testing is done, and while you might have two of the three line up in a way that makes sense, the third one kind of disqualifies a piece of equipment, and it's kind of a separate issue, of course. I mean, AHRI is what we've got to work with at this point. Dropping it lower, to make more equipment available for public consumption, I think it depends on who you talk to about that. The lower cost equipment is certainly can be very price competitive in the market as is. But if you're just asking my opinion, I think that a tiered structure is probably a better way to go for sure. And as cost of natural gas continues to fluctuate as a commodity, potentially going up, from the math that I'm seeing, they will be going up, and cost of electricity will be staying flat roughly. It's a little bit of a crystal ball kind of thinking, but yeah, I think that tiered rebates would be beneficial in general.
The other challenge that we had was understanding what goes into that EAR level and what they need it for. And I think the group felt like if the manufacturers had a better understanding of the actual engineering portion of, how those numbers are calculated, and that it is to avoid going into higher cost power, right? So they want to use our homes during those peak times of energy use versus having to, turn on a plant and deliver the highest, most expensive energy during those peak times. There was a lot of detail on it. The second slide is actually captures, the notes of more of that discussion. Sam, you were on that call too. I don't know if you have any other high level thoughts about it, because I'll probably just jump into the action items because we're going to run out of time today.
Certainly the EER, for those of us that are making variable capacity heat pumps, don't feel like it's really a great way to evaluate performance of our equipment in the field. But since we're saddled with it anyway, the changes that Xcel have made do help. It does broaden the list of equipment that is eligible for their program measures. And we've got Energy Star coming up with new metrics that are beginning the first part of next year. So
from the forecasting meeting, these were the next steps that we had. So realize, Xcel, their goal was to primarily get buy-in to the 60-day heat pump notice that they just released. and comments are due by May 12th. So we have a week to respond. And then after that, these will be final for 2023. They're just going to roll over the existing program with this change for heat pumps in 2023. And then in the 24-25 plan, 2023, that's where we get to go to intervene, to task with Xcel to ask them to make the changes that are the best for our industry to make their rebates successful. So in doing that, my takeaways were, first, I think each one of the manufacturers need to look at the ERA and the HSPF levels from Xcel and figure out what percentage of your equipment is now eligible. Use that as an example and talk about what your contractors will install now with these new rebates. And those are the types of comments that will be helpful. But if we could recommend between all of us and look at those, what the right ear and the HSPF, the ideal is to get all your equipment or 80% eligible, which will make the rebates more successful. That is probably something that we should put forward in those comments, because then they're going to know this is going to be coming for their 2024-25 plan.
No, this is Robert. Just one of the things, and I think I don't know if it was Sean that made the comment or Sam, but talking about that the rebates, the product that are going in are for the rich. Maybe an approach to try to take that maybe Xcel would consider is maybe they, and in talking about the tier levels, maybe they do have a tier level where maybe a tier 1 would be at lower levels and could be for disadvantaged communities, low income or something along those lines, where they would still be able to move in the lines of doing electrification. And then you could have this maybe as the tier 2, something like that. So that may be something to try to push the adoption of heat pumps much more and make it so that it's available to everybody. So and maybe Xcel does something where maybe some percentage of the rebate dollars is earmarked to the low income disadvantaged communities or something, so that it does make an impact in that portion of the marketplace.
I think that we were asked to gather case studies and examples and ideas for them. And I think that completely fits into that. And that's kind of like the third action item down, where I had said, regarding variable speed versus one stage equipment solutions. And you guys had said, like, the one stage, this EAR ratings were developed for one stage equipment. It gets one moment in time that they take the reading and when they're at peak. Whereas you're saying variable equipment works very differently, and you're never going to be maxed out, or very 99.9% of the time. And if you are, it's a variable at, maybe you're taking those readings at multiple times to help them with their peak problem, and then helping them. I think that's another piece, Robert. I think it's a really good idea, because they're incentivized right now for those types of goals. If we come up with a structure that works, they'll consider it. But that's May 12th, that's next week. But I think you guys have these ideas already. We just probably don't have the case studies to back it up with other utilities that are not using EAR. That was the purpose of those case studies. And then also there's another 60-day notice that's due May 30th. That's for high efficiency air conditioning. I haven't read these yet. And the business, HVAC and R. So the three action items are, I think, the pieces that we need to put in our comments. And if we as a group want to tackle putting a summary of all this together on all of our behalfs, and everybody then submit their individual comments for their company, that's what I feel like we could do.
Just for clarification, Patricia, you're talking about information coming to you. You'll compile this into a single document, and answering these specific items, like, does it matter if it's a percentage, or can it be a count, however many?
Yep.
Someone wants to kind of assess their equipment portfolio and the impact of passing or not passing, qualifying or not qualifying. Okay.
What I'd like to do, if you guys would pull your data together you can send your comments in with your own data, because I think individually, the more comments per company is extremely valuable. But then we could have the EEBC put a joint comment in statement and saying, based on our members' feedback, here are some ideal ways and some recommendations to move towards. And yes, but I feel like what I would need to be able to put that together well is have you guys put that together and probably have a brainstorming meeting, kind of like we're starting here. And so that we can coalesce, like, what do we all really think it should look like, so that everybody's agrees, and then we'll put it together for you guys and submit it.
I apologize, I'm not seeing it at the moment, but there's going to be an email or some kind of submission process for these comments to go in. And can we CC you or Connie on that submission so you can kind of capture key comments, compile certain piece, not all of it, but certain pieces or highlights of everybody's comments?
I don't know, because it's the 60-day notice process that they released like 2 weeks ago. So that in the slide, it has a link to the actual comment section, and it says what their heat pump program is with Erin HSPF. I don't know if you can copy us or not, because it's in their portal. It's not like an email, I think, that you send in, and it's due next Thursday.
Wasn't it noted that the 60-day process, that if there were no comments, it would go into effect much sooner than if there were comments, and then they had to address things? So I'm wondering whether, is it really in our best interest to submit comments and potentially delay that process?
Absolutely. So that might be the way that if you guys submitted individual comments, then we have time to pull together a unified recommendation. And then we send it in after your comments are in. Yeah, it will extend it. I will call and double check that is the case. And because they said what happens is people don't respond and they just put it through. Yeah.
That sounds familiar, and I agree with everything that was said.
So with that, do you guys want to like make a plan then that you guys can submit your 60-day notices, and you have the link right here in the PowerPoint? You have to go find it to submit. That's what that link is in the slide. And then if you can copy us, we can maybe pull together an overview of what it looks like, and then make sure that's extended so that we can actually have some time to maybe we'll put together our first draft, and then the group can get together and hammer out ideal. If we can get any case studies of other utilities that are not using EAR and somewhat close in climate zone is the key part, because I think, Sam, you had said like the utilities in the south don't use EAR, but they don't have any cold climate weather.
Well, what's odd is that the AHRI test conditions are actually more reflective of the more southern climates than they are in the cold climates. So it's kind of mixed up that way, if I understand correctly. When you send these PowerPoints out, or do we have to download them from the website?
No, we're just going to email it to you all.
Okay, and then when we hover over those underlined sections, they'll have the link in it. Is that right?
Yeah. Let's see.
Excuse me, you have to be in presentation format. If you're just looking at it like you're editing it, the links don't seem to work quite that way.
Got it. Okay, thanks, Connie.
So I'm hovering and you can see right now the link.
Yeah, if you click on it, it'll go there.
So just to recap here, action is we'll focus on how it's impacting our equipment portfolios. We'll send in a response before May 12th. And then this third action item, second follow-up, will be kind of a group effort to coordinate an EEBC consolidated response. Is that right?
Yeah, and I think it can have more brainstorming of recommendations and ideas, like here's 3 tier structures we recommend. Here's more, things like that.
Hey, Patricia,
Mm-hmm.
there's a very interesting conversation that's going on in regards to the chat, kind of a sidebar conversation between Eric and Sam is actually something that we should recommend to Xcel Energy too as well, in regards to if a a mini split cold climate heat pump or mini split heat pump is used in a whole home application, then it should get the same rebate that the air source heat pumps get.
In the Denver rebates, I was also surprised that they had said that you could use it to replace an air conditioner if you're installing a heat pump. And I said, well, there's no information on like what is all included in that. But I thought mini splits should be included, and you're saying they're not in the form.
They're included, but they're included at a lower rate of rebate. That's in Denver's too. It's just because I think they're kind of mirroring what's happening with Xcel Energy with their rebates, but I think that's where there's some, and it's a reasonable contention because there are some very, very highly efficient products that operate very, at a very high level in that product itself. So it would accomplish the goals, I think, a lot faster because there's some people that that really want that.
And Xcel is rebating like 5 times the amount of the air source, of a full replacement ducted.
Yeah, Patricia, a really easy way to delineate the difference between the two incentive programs that Xcel has and is just to look at the chart on your slide there. If you just drew a line underneath where it says cold climate air source heat pump, and separate that top 2 categories from the bottom 2 categories. Exactly. They're based on 2 different AHRI categories. That's the problem. So when the program design references an AHRI category of equipment, all the mini split heat pumps, including our fully ducted high static pressure systems, do not qualify for the air source heat pump rebate.
Okay, that's great information. So what I'm going to do, we'll change this to the steps that we just outlined, that everybody send in your individual notices. Include the mini split piece in that for absolutely as well. And send that directly to Xcel in their 60-day notice by May 12th. Copy us on it. We'll put together all your ideas into one document and probably some of our conversations that we've had in these meetings. And then we'll have a meeting, make sure we can extend. They're going to extend it when we put the comments in so that we can do a full summary of all of our ideas together. And we can brainstorm and do a little bit deeper dive to how to help them with the rebate program and help us. Does that sum it up, Sean?
That does. It sounds right to me. And just as a side note, when it comes to that different classification, it applies to, the large group of more efficient kind of Asian-based manufactured equipment that is, the Daikins, the Toshibas, the Grees, Medias, etc. It's that type of product, not just brand specific.
So 1, send in your individual comments by May 12th, the Eebc. We'll put it together in one document, schedule a meeting for us all to collaborate and submit it after the deadline if it's extended.
Great.
How's that? Great. Okay, let's move on. So this is just the notes, more on the meeting that we had. Next, we've talked about this a little bit. Both the flyers for Denver's new rebate electrification program rebates are here so that you can provide both. We have the links in there as well. So after our forecast meeting, and I did not report back to you guys in the forecast meeting, I apologize, but I did have a meeting with the 3 program managers on Thursday before they launched, and we had 4 very specific recommendations for them to improve their program. It included 1, put all of the $9 million into the first year and ensure that the contractors know that if they put a rebate request in, it'll be supported and they won't be left with a bill of $7,200 that it was promised to be compensated rebate by Denver. They said, oh, no, we would never do that at 6 months. We'll do a cutoff. And I'm like, well, what if you do the cutoff and people aren't included? And they're like, Oh, we wouldn't really do it. Like, I was like, you have to tell us and you have to have a specific guidelines to do it because no one is going to take that chance. I think they're being a bit naive, was just my opinion. And they're like, oh no, once the money starts rolling in, they're all going to do it. I was like, well, I don't know. They're telling me they might do one or two and then they won't because they won't get rebated and they don't have a guarantee they will not.
Patricia, if they don't do that, South Coast, what they started doing is they had a tracker on their website. And as the rebate dollars were being consumed, you could go to the website and you could see what was remaining on the committed part. So maybe something like that could be done where anybody could track and see where the current rebate dollars remaining were. If nothing else, it would also add incentive to try to get it done sooner than later.
Great idea.
Yeah, having a progress bar of some sort, right?
Yeah, they were saying your name would be in and then they would cut it off. And if they went over 100,000, they would still cover it, is what they said. But they also then said, well, we're going to put this out there and we'll start making changes to it based on how everybody responds. Also, I had suggested the tiering that you guys brought up and also calling out, AC as well. And that those are, easier lifts and it's summer. And then the other thing is we talked about and I can't remember the fourth one that you guys suggested that I talked about, but they're basing this on Xcel's rebates. And we talked about that their rebates are not rebating because of the year, that they might want to reconsider that piece with Xcel and maybe have their own, guidelines and that, so they don't have, so all your equipment is eligible. And I can't remember the fourth one right now. But they were super appreciative. They really liked the ideas. They're like, it makes sense. Kind of like, we don't have time to do it. We're launching it tomorrow morning. And then I heard, I did not get an invite to the contractor meeting on Friday morning, that it was pretty hot and heated and all the things that we said to them. So it validated us as a resource for them. So now they want to have further conversations. It was a good opening to get to know those three program managers, and they did listen and they gave us 45 minutes to talk about it.
Patricia, there's another document that's kind of rolling around too as well, that has more specific requirements for the Denver rebate, which is it's a much easier to read, and I think a lot of the contractors will feel a lot more comfortable when they have that document and understand exactly what's going on with those rebates.
Okay, so we need to find that document and send it out to everybody.
I'll send it to you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Any other comments before we move on? Great. So the most exciting part, and we only have like 3 minutes left, is the forecasting work. But there's a lot going on and there's a lot to each one of these pieces. So I don't know if you guys want to reschedule, if you want to stay on for a little bit. I'm just going to walk through the slides real quick. So this is our goal in the heat pump forecast. Did a lot of good work in identifying what the year-over-year increase in heat pump installs will be required by the end of 2030. And then what are we going to do with that information? And that is basically what we call intervening, but it would be in the strategic issues filing in July. That is all the goal setting, bringing beneficial electrification rebates, and setting the money for those. The 2023 plan is just an extension, and we'll be working on our proposals and everything for 2024-25 plan to work on 2023. Plus step 2, facilitating and taking this information to other utilities and cities to have them align their goals and ask for the resources that you guys will need to actually reach those goals. And then the last part is just my recap. We're fundraising so that we can go to the table with Xcel for you guys and have that voice and bring all this information into evaluating the strategic issues, proposals, having a contractor testify, those types of things. It's going to cost $150,000 total through the end of the year, minimum 105 to at least what we call intervene. It's basically like a court setting to with the public utilities in Xcel. Energy Foundation has given 55,000. Sweep has given 10,000. WRA made a commitment. It's not on here. 10,000. Those are your stakeholders that are working for you guys. And then from the manufacturers, Daikin has made a commitment. So we're asking everyone, members and our distributors, especially, like this is where it would cost us, you guys, what it costs us, $100,000 to intervene as an individual company. So it's a great value and we have so much more power together.
Well, just to underscore there's an ask here to everybody on the call and whoever in our network to support the Eebc in the work in the intervening process. And that process takes time and effort and money to get done. And so the ask is if you all can basically support Eebc in those donations. Also, just to clarify, if you can put that screen back up, Patricia, I just wanted to orient people to that Northeast market growth study. As the years obviously go down between 2021 and 2030 and going across the right from Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Vermont, and then a total of New England on the right-hand side there. The cumulative totals are thousands of heat pumps through the years across all the states, with a total of 874,000 across New England by 2030. And then there's some references or percentages of households with air source heat pumps and such. The point is that I've done some math on the back end that sort of lines up with this. And I would say that I don't know how quickly your companies have grown over the past year or two, but if we were to use what I would feel to be a somewhat conservative growth rate of 20 to 25%, and this is not shown on this slide, but we're looking at a growth rate something not the same, but in the 500, 600,000 units range, and the 500%, 600%, 700% type of growth rate between now and the end of the decade. So really, really big numbers, and I think I want to say it's getting to the point where there's heat pumps in something to the tune of 25%. 27% of the households in Colorado by the end of the decade. So we can have more conversations around that, but I just wanted to orient you to this slide, and the references are there if you want to dig in further.
And I like that you're like, it's somewhere between 10 to 16% growth annually on what the other states have experienced. 2 points that you guys made at the forecasting meeting is, one is that Seattle knocked it out of the park compared to the other 4 states who had all the same rebate programs, because they asked the state to develop a tax credit. They're the only one that did, and they were 4 times more increase in heat pump uptake than Oregon, Idaho, and Montana. So that was, I think, something we should be asking the state to do with this forecast. The other thing that I thought was interesting is Colorado Energy Office and Sweep put a goal out 2.5 years ago that they thought that we need 300,000 heat pumps installed by 2030 to hit all these goals of all these cities. But according to this group, the Eebc, our forecasting group's numbers, and some of the work that Sean did, it looks like 690,000. And that is completely in step with either Vermont or Maine and their projections, and with California, like the metrics. We looked at their metrics they were using.
Very much so.
Okay, cool. So that's, I think, our big, there's 2 forecasts here. We have the one of, hey, if we keep doing it the way we are right now, we're looking at X. So Colorado's asking for 300,000, Colorado Energy Office. We're saying, if you really want to hit your goals, Colorado and utilities and cities and the state, we think it has to be 690,000. And I think they'll go, what? And then the next step for us as a group is to say, here's what it'll take. This is what our industry can do, but the lift to get that extra 300,000, we need a statewide campaign, we need a tax rebate, we need workforce. And I think that we have to ask for workforce for the things that I took away from our last meeting that are going to be the asks, on that other slide that I was showing you guys. Any comments before we go? We can dive into this much more in our next meeting, and I think we need to as a group, but I think it was helpful to have an ad hoc committee get together, the forecasting group, and I think we should probably do that again in between, our next meeting in June. The last slide is just our upcoming meetings. So our next meeting with this group, manufacturers, distributors, and stakeholders, is June 2nd from 3 to 4. So you can actually in the PowerPoint register right there. And then that contractor dealer meeting coming up May 19th. If you want your contractors to get involved with getting that pipeline and having orientated new employees, or have heat pump technicians come through ICAST with training and come to you trained, we get first right of refusal to all the grads because we were creating the curriculum with their feedback specifically. So it's a nice loop for them to start to get more employees. Thank you, you guys. We'll work on sending out we'll make some updates to the PowerPoint, send it out to you, and come up with our forecast meeting date and check in with you guys, probably maybe do a doodle poll or something. So that's it. Thank you so much for joining.